Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Demystify Selling with Microsoft. And I'm excited for my guest today. I'd like to welcome Michael Bolden, who goes by Bolden. So, Bolden, welcome.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for allowing me to join and speak today.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for this discussion. And, as the title of the episode talks about, is what you're famous for. And we're going to get into that in a few minutes. But before we get started, maybe you can tell us a bit about you and your role and kind of where you fit in the Microsoft
Absolutely.
ecosystem.
Absolutely. So, first of all, I've been with Microsoft for about 6 years, going on 6 years now. As an account executive, I'm in the small, medium corporate space. So, Microsoft loves their acronyms, but essentially what that means for you, we're a little bit underneath the level of enterprise accounts and major accounts. Think of us as named accounts, if you've heard that term before. So most of us have anywhere between 30 to 40 accounts that we manage. The industries could be multiple industries that we focus on. So, for example, for me, myself, I have financial, I have DIBS, government contractors, I have healthcare, and I have some professional service firms and law firms that I cover. So, basically, the whole gambit. And the sizes can venture from all over the place. It's very exciting to be in SMC. The 6 years that I've been there, it's constantly growing. It's one of the more exciting parts of the Microsoft business that they've created over the last couple of years. But we continue to either get more accounts that come up from SMB that we have to support, or we get accounts from enterprise that they want us to give some flowers to and give more love to and make sure that they're being taken care of. So it's definitely an exciting space. I'd say for me, at least twice to three times a year, I come across a creative opportunity or a very strategic opportunity where it's a lot of growth and learning that you get from it. So I'm really excited to talk to you about SMC, account executive, Microsoft, all et cetera, all the above.
Yeah, and just one follow-up question to that is that, you talked about the different industries that you touch on. So you're not vertical just to one industry. You cover a lot of different industries. But the maybe you could talk about the size of the accounts in terms of, they can range from a few hundred to thousands of employees. Am I correct in that?
You're absolutely right. Yeah. So, and I would say don't judge a book by its cover. That account that has 100 employees could be an ISV that's doing, 10 million a year in Azure.
Right.
And then you could have that 40,000 seat, hospital that is not as strategic in
Right.
certain areas. So it does range depending on the industry. For me, I do have some of the larger accounts, probably in SMC.
Mhm.
So I do have some hospitals that are 20, 30,000 seats, but I also have customers that are barely 500 employees or even less. It just
Yeah.
depends.
No, that's a great point, and I think it's important for partners to understand that there's no sort of line in the sand that this is an SMB or a small to medium business, or this is an enterprise. It really can range, and so I think that you brought up the point of a managed or named account is the thing
Right.
really to pay attention to. So I love that. I appreciate you giving us some clarity there, Michael. And so let's do this. Let's jump into one other question before we get into our topic, which is what type of partners does Bolden work with? Does it, do you work with systems integrators, ISVs, or what's the sort of most common partner in your world?
So I'm gonna say it depends, and I'm gonna leave you with a phrase, and that phrase is, "What are you famous for?"
Right.
Um, and what I mean by that is Microsoft has a lot of solutions, and yeah, you can be a jack of all trades, but typically when I'm looking for a partner, I'm looking for a partner that has deep knowledge in a particular area. I'll give you an example. Azure Sentinel. Azure Sentinel is a phenomenal product and solution that Microsoft has created for the community for a security standpoint. But one of the key things is it drags in a lot of other components of the Microsoft stack to make it work and provide benefit to the customer. And what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a partner, for example, for Azure Sentinel, I'm looking for a partner that can go deep in that product space, understand the competitive market, understand the industry, understand what the deployment cycle would look like, just have deep knowledge around the full life cycle of the sale, of the deployment for the customer. That team tends to work better than somebody that says, well, we do Azure Sentinel and we do this, and that.
Yeah.
It, I'd rather you have some deep expertise. Now, there is always an opportunity for partners that are well versed across the spectrum,
Mhm.
and that very well will work a lot of times for certain solutions. But for some of these niche solutions, and I'm going to throw the wildfire out there, the hot topic of the day, Copilot.
Copilot. Yep.
Copilot is one of those things that you've got to have some depth knowledge on. And I just give you this example. I've spoken to a lot of partners around Copilot, and they're like, "Yeah, we can do a Copilot readiness assessment. Yeah, we can talk to your customer." And then I asked them one question only, and I'm like, "Do you own Copilot?"
Yeah.
And the question comes back, "Well," and I'm like, "Well, how can you demo or tell the customer about it if you don't own it yourself?"
Right.
And once again, that just kind of goes back to make yourself famous about something, be really good at it. If it's industry based and you're just a really great healthcare partner, great. If it's a certain product that you're really great at, and I'm not saying that you won't have opportunities to expand on other areas while you're with the customer, but
Right.
when I'm bringing you in, I want to bring you in because you're really good at a certain project that can help me close a deal or grow a deal or provide value to a customer in its totality.
Yeah, and I love what you said there. There's something I want to dig in on is that you talked about, what you're famous for and the product as an example, Sentinel. But you also mentioned that you as the partner need to understand how to sell that product. So it's not just being an expert at the technology, but also understanding how to move a customer through that journey. And maybe you can walk me through, your expectation of the partner as it relates to the sales journey. And we'll talk about the technical side in a minute or two.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, putting the technical side to the side, when speaking to the customer, you got to provide confidence in the product and understanding the product life cycle, and how you get to that point is very important. And we'll use Azure Sentinel as the example. It's really a pull through type product. It needs a lot of prerequisite components
Yeah.
for it to really show value. So, yeah, you could talk all the technical stuff, but if you can't paint the picture of the
Right.
security story, then you have no chance of selling Azure Sentinel in the first place. It is one of those products that will literally pull through other solutions. If a customer is on, let's for example, O365 or M365 E3 today, if
Hmm.
you sell the security story and you pair it with Azure Sentinel as that nirvana,
Yeah.
that's how you can sell the value of the story to the customer. You don't componentize it, sell it as a platform. We always say it, we always preach it, but we don't always act upon it. And it is so true in this situation here. You sell the platform, and by selling the platform, that particular product, the Nirvana, the
Yeah.
the flagship product, is selling everything else. And as a partner, you need to understand that it all goes in one. So when you're selling Azure Sentinel, you're selling Defender. You're for endpoint, Defender for cloud, Defender for Office, all of those components go
Right.
into this one cell. You have to build that value. So you have to be an expert at telling that story.
That's great. I think that's so important for partners to hear is that one of the things that you rely on the partner community, if I'm hearing you right, is that they need to be able to tell that story, tell the entire value proposition. It's not about just selling one Defender license, for Defender for Office or Defender for Cloud. It's sell the vision of where you can go, sell the ultimate vision of what that customer can take advantage of. And I imagine that's got to help you scale when you find partners that can deliver that message like that. And that's a real part of the value you get from the partner community. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. It builds this continuity too, because it's somebody I can trust and go to. I know that you've got this process in place that takes the customer through a sales journey,
Mm-hmm.
from the inception of discovery all the way to the end of deployment and then post deployment too. And that confidence that you provide through those activities gives me the confidence to keep going back to you and scaling with you with other
Right.
customers. I can just rinse and repeat and replicate it over and over
Right. Rinse and repeat. I love that. Well, let me ask this. It's still along the sales journey, but one of the things that I think is important for partners to understand is that there's a set of programs inside of Microsoft that they, as a partner, need to understand so they can help customers along the sort of sales journey. Because we know that customers are always pushing back that there's pricing problems, it's too much, too expensive, and Microsoft has a ton of different programs. And so is it important for you, or do you see your partner community leveraging programs to help move sales forward?
So to be fair, I do think they try to stay up on our funding programs as much as possible. Microsoft is ever changing, so
That's for sure.
nothing's ever constant. We're always changing. We're always trying to evolve to provide the best services for our customers and our partners alike. What I will say from funding, it's absolutely imperative that you understand where the cheese is moved
Yeah.
each fiscal. Understand the rules of funding, where the buckets are,
Yeah.
um, and how to get that funding, what the business justification needs to look like for that
Yeah.
funding. And examples, this year, we do have a little bit different funding vehicle that's made it actually a whole lot more efficient for partners to get funding, which is our voucher program. But
Yeah.
in order to be part of that voucher program, you need to be a fast track ready partner.
Hmm.
So, you got to get those certs. So continue to work on your certs and getting those things so that you're available for multiple funding buckets is very important. That's going to make you more attractive when it comes to an AE. Because think about it from an AE standpoint. Do I want to go through the traditional funding way, or do I want to go through a way that's going to provide speed and ease to not only the partner but to the customer too, and flexibility? So just kind of keeping that all encompassed when you're thinking
Yeah.
about the funding, just know where the cheese is at the time.
Right. Is there a book like that? Who Moved My Cheese?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we talked about the sort of sales journey. We talked a bit about the, being proficient at the technology and selling the entire sort of story, not just the product individually. But one of the questions I've got around partnering with partners is the solution designation. And do you, as a Microsoft account executive, look at a partner and what solution designation or designations they hold when you're first engaging with a partner? Or is that sort of something you look at later on in a relationship with a partner?
That's a good question. I'm gonna say it depends.
Mhm.
Depends on the product. If it's Azure, absolutely, I want to know what you're providing from a solution standpoint. Do you have
Yeah.
something in the marketplace that could accelerate, speed up a deployment, things of that nature? Same thing would be said for Dynamics too. Do you have a plugin that's going to make it easier for a customer that's transitioning from PeopleSoft to, our ERP?
Yeah.
So I definitely do think, depending on the the product area, you having some solutions in place already could be very beneficial because it can bring more value to the customer and it can speed up the sales cycle.
Right. And I think I hope everyone heard that loud and clear, that speed to execution or speeding up the sales cycle is a real value to, I imagine, not just you, but to every one of your peers, is that the sooner you can get that deal across the line, the sooner the customer starts to recognize the benefits of the platform, the
Absolutely.
sooner both sales teams recognize the sale itself. So that's great. Let's transition a little bit and let's move over and talk about when you first meet a partner. So, the first time a partner is getting introduced to you, what are a few of the things you want to hear from that partner right out of the gate? So, we talked about, what you're famous for. What are those special things that you're known for? Go toe to toe with anybody. But are there other things that you'd want to hear from a partner as you're starting to journey with them?
First, I would say, I mean, the key things we've kind of already touched upon.
Mhm.
What are you famous for? Is
Yeah.
something you're good at. In addition to that, do you understand our funding process? We kind of hit on that earlier. I'd say the other thing is do you have any references?
Yeah.
And then additional to that, do you have a proven process in place? And I'll give you an example. I was speaking with a couple partners the other day, as I have a customer that is interested in Azure Sentinel.
Mhm.
Two customers had a readily template available for the customer to fill out to get all the necessary information that they needed to build out a consumption model in an SOW. The other partner did not. Well, guess which partner probably not moving along in this vetting process.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing is be prepared. That's what I'm looking for is preparation. Have a proven process. So I'm vetting you for a proven process. Have you done this before?
Yeah.
Is it repeatable? And then the other big thing is just making sure that you have the right resources that can deliver the message. It's one thing to be technical. It's another thing to talk people to people.
Yeah, I love that. So, it's we talked about the what you're famous for, but then really having clear references that are relevant so that you understand, hey, this is somebody you've worked with or a type of customer you've worked with, have a proven process, and especially a process that's repeatable. Again, I imagine that goes back to the whole speed of execution. It's you're not reinventing the wheel. You understand how to move a customer through a journey. You understand what they're going to need. So I love that. One other question about the types of partners is, we've talked about and alluded to systems integrators and how they deploy, but what about ISVs? Do you, in your role, work with a lot of ISVs or do you see a lot of ISVs in your customer base?
I have ISVs in my customer base.
Mhm.
Um, Personally, do I typically a system integrator may be an ISV too. They may have their own code.
Mhm.
So you may see it coincide together. First of all, it's customer choice driven.
Yeah.
Secondly, I most importantly, I think it's workload driven too. If it's Azure, you're certainly looking for a system integrator. Potentially, they could have an ISV, but don't necessarily need that. You really just need the system integrator
Yeah.
capability. But if you're dealing with Dynamics, you probably do want a system integrator that does have some ISV capability. And that goes back to, do they have something in the marketplace
Right.
that can enhance or provide a better experience? And you notice, and I'm take a step here. You notice I've not talked about modern work as a discipline niche.
Mhm.
I really do think the partner community, if it's one area they've nailed down really well, and this is my personal opinion, people could have totally different opinion. I
Yeah.
do feel like the partner community has really nailed down modern work, just as we've nailed down, Microsoft has nailed down modern work also as with our customer base. So I do think not that it's necessarily easier to deploy or support from a integration standpoint or from a deployment standpoint. I just feel like more people have done it. There are more resources out there that can help and support it. So if I'm remiss by not bringing up modern work, it's because I do feel a lot of partners do have those core competencies to do modern work. It's the niche areas where we're looking for, as we've been stating throughout this call, what are you famous for?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I have to agree with you. I think that the modern work practice as a whole is getting much more mature, and that the partner community is much more mature in their delivery of it, their understanding of it. But to your point, when we get down into the more niche products, whether that be in the dynamics arena or the security arena, or as Copilot really starts to take off and customers really are looking to integrate AI into their business, these are the areas where partners are going to have to skill up and really start to drive learning inside their own organization so that they can bring that kind of value to you. That same value that they've brought on the modern work side over the years is now going to transcend into these newer areas. And I think
Absolutely.
we've got a lot to look forward to in the partner community. Great. Well, this has been an awesome conversation, Bolden. I appreciate it. And one final question is, if somebody does want to find you or get a hold of you, what's the best way to connect with Bolden?
Via email, you can certainly shoot me a message on LinkedIn too, but via email, that's pretty much where I'm at most of the time.
Okay.
And then once we are connected, I do love to connect via Teams and federate via Teams and chat that way. It's just an easier way to kind of communicate. So those are kind of my different mediums of communication.
Great. Well, for our audience, then why don't I suggest that they hit you up on LinkedIn as the first step if someone does want to reach out to you and feels like they might be able to bring value to what you do. The best way to get started is via LinkedIn. How's that?
Sounds great.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, Michael, thanks again. I appreciate your time and I look forward to staying in touch.